It's noon here in Ventnor City, New Jersey, and our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., and this is news that you can use from CarEdge for Monday, July 29th, the end of birthday week. Isn't that perfect? You're 29, and the end of birthday week falls on the 29th. And I'm your host, Ray, and, well, the 29-year-old, Zach. How are you, handsome?
Doing great. I got rid of my facial hair, trying to look younger now that I am 1 year closer to 30. Thank you to everyone who celebrated my birthday with us last week. Really, really appreciate it. Go for it, Pops.
You did get rid of most of your facial hair. Was that intentional, or did you just screw up when you were trying to trim?
It'll be back later this week. Today's show is brought to you by our company. My dad and I founded CarEdge 4.5 years ago. What a journey we have been on. Thank you to everyone that supports us. Back at CarEdge.com, you will find a car search, a car buying service, a car buying toolkit, a way to sell your vehicle online, and warranty and protection products. There's so much more under resources. Check it out, CarEdge.com. Dad, the sky is falling. We're going to talk about vehicle affordability today, and we're actually going to start with something new, which is auto insurance. We've got some data here, Dad, on the cost of auto insurance. And holy cow, it is going up, up, and up. This comes from Axios. You can see auto insurance rates have gone up annually, anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000 per year, gone up that amount, that much in 2024. And you can see this chart here. Some states in particular, for example, Nevada, Louisiana, we have New York up here, Maryland, we've got Kentucky, we've got South Carolina. I'm just impressing myself at this point that I'm getting all the states right. We have Florida. That these are areas of the country where auto insurance rates are going up the most. That is one of the most overlooked aspects of vehicle affordability right now that is really hampering car sales and also repos, delinquencies, etc.
I want to see that list again. I need to know what state I need to move to. You know, my car is presently registered in the state of Maryland, which means that I am paying way more for my insurance than I probably should be or could be if I were to move to a slightly different address. Either that or just get rid of the damn car, one of the two. But that's some crazy increases in. And listen, we've talked about it. I see it in mine. Mine's up to $130 a month with Geico. Yeah, I carry I think 300,000 in coverage because it's a lease. It might even be $1 million. I don't know. You know, because I'm YouTube famous, and
where are you going with this, Dad?
Well, my point is I don't go anywhere. I don't drive anywhere. I don't put any damn miles on the car, and I pay $130 a month, which to me seems kind of crazy for a 73-year-old that literally drives 3,000 miles a year.
I appreciate the personal anecdote. Let's talk about general vehicle affordability if you're up for that. Average transaction price for a new car, $47,000. Average transaction price for a used vehicle, still north of $25,000. Most people don't factor in insurance. You experience that a bunch in your career.
Yes.
And if insurance rates are going up as much as they are, average transaction prices are still incredibly high. This is going to keep a lot of people out of the market for a long time, correct?
Well, unfortunately, what happens is people buy the car and then they add it to their policy, and that's when they get smacked across the face with like a sledgehammer, and they go, "Oh, I didn't really expect my insurance to go up that much." And oftentimes when that happens, it puts them well over what they've budgeted between a car payment and an insurance payment. So it's difficult for people. What anybody should do prior to ever buying a car is pick out what kind of car it is that they want, contact your insurance company or your insurance agent, and ask them, if I were to buy this car, keeping everything the same on my insurance policy, what would my new insurance rates be? You might be shocked to find that out, and it could then lend itself to saying, maybe I don't need to do something right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, Dad, we've been tracking for the longest time car price inflation here in the United States. So automakers intentionally increasing their MSRPs, which obviously influences what the average transaction price will be. So you've got MSRPs going up significantly. You've got auto insurance prices going up significantly. The average interest rate, we talked about it a bit last week. We talk about it every week, for goodness sake. For a new car is almost 10%. For a used car is over 14%. You start to add all these factors together, and the affordability crisis is pretty grim. And I think that's being reflected in the automaker earnings. That was the big story last week. As the week progressed, you saw Ford, you saw General Motors, you saw Stellantis, you saw Tesla, all of those companies, their stocks tanking, going down significantly. Ford had their worst day since the global financial crisis, when they were on the brink of bankruptcy and they had to be bailed out. So, I mean, things are not looking good.
Let me say one thing about Ford. They were not bailed out.
On the brink of bankruptcy during the discussions about bailouts.
Yeah, but they did not accept a bailout.
Yep.
They were the only one of the big three that did not. General Motors did, and at that time it was Chrysler, FCA, or whatever the hell alphabet it was at that point. But Ford chose to ride it out on their own, and they successfully did that. So just now they can't successfully build a car without warranty issues, but they could navigate the global financial crisis.
My point being, thank you, Dad, but my point being, they had their worst day since then, and it seems like everyone's waking up to the idea that, holy cow, people can't spend this much money to get from point A to point B. Quick question for everyone that's here with us. Drop your monthly insurance cost, or if you pay quarterly, let's do annual. Drop your annual insurance cost in the chat. How much do you pay for insurance? You're obviously $130 a month, Dad. So doing the math in my head, what is that, about $1,500, $1,800 a year?
Well, and my problem is it's a 6-month intervals, so it could go up again.
All right, but you're spending somewhere around $1,800 a year to insure your car, correct?
Somewhere around $1,600. Yes.
Yeah, $1,600. So drop what you're paying for your insurance in the chat. I think, Dad, that's going to force the hand of the automakers to continue to incentivize, because how many people are going to ultimately not buy a car once they realize, oh crap, it's going to increase my monthly payment by what, $200, $300?
You know, and if you are a younger driver, a younger person in the market for a car, what insurance companies consider an inexperienced driver. And, you know, when I was still in retail automotive, I remember younger drivers having $250, $300 a month payments just for automobile insurance. Well, today that $300 a month might be $500 a month on top of your car payment. And people have continually extended the term of their car payments. And what I mean by that is for the longest period of time, an average automobile loan was 60 months.
Yeah.
And as prices continued to creep up, the amount of time people financed the car would continue to creep up. And then it became 72 months. And then during the pandemic, you started seeing things like 84 months and 96 months. Okay, 96 months, that's 8 years, ladies and gentlemen. 8 years. We in America don't keep anything for 8 years, okay, as a rule. Now, I will say that, and then I know we'll get the comments, well, my car's 33 years old. Well, congratulations. You are the anomaly. You are the exception to the rule. You know, the rule is that most people try to trade, for whatever reason, try to trade out of their cars about every 3 to 3.5 years. Well, you can't do that when you're in an 8-year loan. You will be the proud possessor of the most onerous thing anybody that owns a car could have, and that's called negative equity. Okay? And the reason it's onerous is it won't allow for you to get out of a car unless you bring, well, a lot of cash to the table. Yeah. Well, you need that cash to live. Okay. Insurance is up. Car payments are up. The price of cars are up, new and used. How can you impact that negative equity without cash? You can't. I'm sorry, I'll be good now.
You're fine, man. It's just like a pretty damning moment for the industry. I'm gonna pull up that. I posted this over on Twitter earlier today. These are my DMs on TikTok and Instagram, and I just chose 3 random ones. We've got this one, Dad, which is I'm about $10,000 upside down on my 2019 GMC Acadia. Are dealers going to do bigger incentives as the year goes on? Should I hold on and see what incentives roll out and hope to catch a great deal? To be very clear, if you're upside down on your car loan, you should just pay it off. You should just 100% pay it off. That is the most financially responsible decision you can make, correct?
Either that or make sure you have gap insurance. And if there's a major storm coming through or a line of thunderstorms coming through, park under a tree. But other than that, pay the damn thing off.
All right, we've got another one here, Dad. This is right here. Hey, man, serious question. We bought a Jeep Renegade for $31,000 in December of 2021 because we moved across the country and no longer needed our Jeep Wrangler. We were moving to a city that was substantially more expensive than where we lived originally. And to do that, we did an 84-month term. I know it's horrendous. We currently owe $26,000 on it, and KBB says that it's worth anywhere from 16 to 18, and it has around 58,000 miles on it. We are the only owners of it in clean Carfax, no accidents. Is there anything you would recommend we do? We cannot do a lease to try and get out from upside down on it because my wife drives about 18 to 20,000 miles a year. This can be your moment, your soapbox, Dad. KBB is not writing a check for $16,000 to $18,000 for that vehicle, are they?
No, but they could do the lease, even though she drives 18 to 20,000 miles a year. The beauty of the lease is the fixed cost for the next 36 months. You know what it's going to cost you every month other than maintenance. And if you roll that negative equity in, which is going, every $1,000 influence a lease payment by about $30 a month. So if there's $10,000 in negative, there's $300 a month just going to cover the negative equity. It's not covering the vehicle. However, the good news is in 3 years, you get to start from scratch. You owe zero. You are not you have no negative equity. Now, having said that, you've been in this vehicle for a couple of years. You took out a 7-year loan. You got to start put some money away every month just for a future car payment above and beyond, or just for a future down payment on your next car. I don't know what your monthly payment is on your Renegade. If it's $400 a month, send your $400 to the bank for that. Set another $200 aside in a different savings account for a down payment to help you get out of it. You have to budget at this point, and you have to determine how you can afford to put some money away so you can accumulate enough for a down payment to cover your negative equity moving forward.
I want to go back to the comment I made about KBB, Dad. Maybe you can expand upon that. KBB saying something's worth $16,000 to $18,000 doesn't mean anything, right? Expand on that for a moment, and then I also want to let everyone know you can follow on social media. You can DM CarEdge, my CarEdge, or at Shefska. Send us what's going on in your life. We'll be doing more of these every single week on the show. But yeah, this person, I hate to say it, Dad, owes $26,000 just because you can go on KBB and it says it's worth $16,000 to $18,000 doesn't mean a dealer is going to pay you $16,000 to $18,000 for it.
The best thing this person could do at this point in time, just so they have a clearer understanding as to what the value of this Renegade might really be, is run it through our sell feature on our website. So you can get some cash offers for it from local dealers in your area.
But KBB's just lead gen. I just want to, sorry, I'm like asking you for something, but I'm just going to say it. KBB's lead gen. It's BS. That's not actually what you're going to get for it.
KBB is a guide. Okay, it's not etched in stone. Dealers don't even use Kelley Blue Book. Most use Black Book to get some idea as to what a wholesale value might be. Most dealers also use vAuto, and vAuto is a software tool that provides information about what every type of vehicle is doing currently at the auctions. So you could match up the vehicle you have with the miles that it has, and a dealer can look at it and they can go, okay, On average, these are bringing about $14,000 at the auction. To me, then it's worth 11 or 11.5 or 13, whatever it is. But it's KBB has no influence on what the value of the vehicle is. What they're doing at the auctions and what they're doing in the local market influences the values.
All right, let's look at one more here. This came in the Instagram DMs. Hey, Zach, I know you're interested in people who have negative equity in their vehicles, so here's my story. I stopped in at a GMC dealership in Vermont on Saturday to look at trucks and check out incentives. They told me my trade-in value on my 2023 Dodge Durango SXT with under 12,000 miles was only $27,000. I still owe $47,000 on it. That's $20,000 in negative equity. Dad, $20,000 upside down on a 2023 Dodge Durango. And again, we started this conversation with the affordability crisis is getting even worse, and we led with the fact that auto insurance rates have gone up so much. Imagine you're this gentleman and your auto insurance rates went up, your monthly payment went up, and you're saying, you know what, I just want to get out of this. I want to get into a cheaper payment. You can't, because you're going to be rolling in $20,000 of negative equity into the next car you buy, even if it is one with cheaper auto insurance or a lower price that you're paying. Your monthly payment's going to be absurd because of the $20,000 in negative equity.
You can if you put $20,000 towards your next purchase. Okay, that's the secret. I used to look at customers and I'd say some cash down would really help. Well, I don't really have cash down. Well, yeah, but the cash down is really going to help. What do you suggest, Ray? I said it's pretty simple. You can either pay me now or you're going to pay me later, because at a certain point, you can no longer roll all that negative equity you have into your next loan. So at a certain point, you're going to have to come up with the cash. You just have to. I don't care if you rob a bank. Well, I do care. You shouldn't rob a bank, but I don't care where the money comes. Well, I do care where the money comes from. It shouldn't be drug money. But the point is, you need cash. So start figuring out how to save money on a monthly basis. If you can write a check for your car loan, figure out how to write a somewhat smaller check on a monthly basis to your savings account for your next cash down payment, because you're either going to pay now or you're going to pay later, but you're going to pay. There's no way to get around it.
Dad, I want to actually turn this back to the automakers, because I think the affordability crisis only gets solved by them making cheaper vehicles or incentivizing the sale of their vehicles to lower price points. And so I want to actually quantify the impact at the automaker level, because we've been talking about inventory building up and prices being too high in the affordability crisis for a long, long time. But it seemed like last week with those quarterly earnings, it was the first time the pressure was now really, really placed on the automaker instead of the dealer. We're going to look at the charts for Stellantis and Ford for the past year for their stock, okay? This is pretty damning, man. In the past year, they're down 17.47%. That's actually not that crazy in the grand scheme of things. But look at, I love my math terminology. Yeah. Look at the slope of the line from here, which was July 22nd. Stellantis celebrated Zach Shefska's 29th birthday week too.
Yeah.
There's just sucked.
Yeah.
I mean, look at that, man, falling off a cliff, right? Like, they got hit hard. The pressure is now squarely on Stellantis to do something about this, right? Like, that's what this says to me.
And didn't they blame it on, well, they're producing too many vehicles in North America that need to be reworked? And I'm thinking to myself, who told them to produce them? It's not like the workers said on their own, let's produce a poop ton of trucks this week. No, their managers told them what to produce. But, it's so that to me was the most damning thing, was to try and blame all this excess production on the plants in North America, when the orders to produce these vehicles came directly from the executive management team at Stellantis.
And I will pull it up on the screen. We have the car price inflation. If you Google search car price inflation, this should pop right up. We've been documenting for a long time car price inflation, and the brand that increased their prices the most, there's got to be a correlation here, right?
You think?
Wall Street investors, people smarter than us. This is not financial advice by any stretch. We have no clue what we're talking about when it comes to the stock market. Stellantis is the brand that increased their MSRPs the most of the major automakers that we studied, significantly, more than twice what the inflation rate was from 2018 through 2023. And then their stock has gone down significantly. And more importantly, their perception of their brand is getting tarnished because no one wants to buy a $100,000 Jeep Grand Wagoneer, whatever. Like their inventory situation is abysmal. 2022, 2023, 2024, and 2025 new vehicles all for sale for Chrysler, for Dodge, for Jeep, and for Ram nationwide. It's a bad situation. There's a correlation there, right?
I would believe so, and I must say you said something in there that really piqued my interest, and what you said was that people smarter than us. You forgot one word. People allegedly smarter than us. Okay, or you could have put in there people who profess to be smarter than us, who may or may not be smarter than us. You can go right back to corporate headquarters at Stellantis, start at Carlos Tavares's desk and say, who gave the order to produce all these vehicles? Who was the moron that said, hey, we need to produce 3 times the amount of vehicles that we need for North America because, well, we just do. Who was that person?
But maybe, Dad, maybe. I will look at Ford real quick, and then I want to try and put a positive spin on this because we don't do that often enough on this show. Ford, we're looking at Ford's chart now of the past year. Again, look at the slope of this line. Birthday week over at Ford was also bad.
Yeah.
Although it started for them on the 18th. I mean, you can just see it. Like the stock just crashed. It absolutely crashed. It was down 16% in a day. So really a bad situation over at Ford. But is this not the light at the end of the tunnel? Now that the pressure is being put on the OEM, the automaker, we will undoubtedly see incentives go up. We already have seen incentives go up. When the pressure was squarely on the dealers, it was a crapshoot. The dealer was hoping for an uninformed customer to come in and overpay for a vehicle. You'd have to negotiate really hard. I'm thinking the light's at the end of the tunnel here because now the pressure's on the automaker. They can't play the dealer games. The dealers are bursting at the seams with inventory. That was their pressure release. The fleet customers were the pressure release. They're both tapped out, man. So I think the light's at the end of the tunnel here.
It very well could be, and it's kind of sort of like a double-edged sword for the manufacturers because they still need all these high-priced, high-profit margin vehicles, ICE vehicles, to underwrite their forays into EVs, even though most of them have said that they are slowing down that EV process, that they will spend more time developing more hybrids and continue to produce ICE vehicles further into the future than they originally had planned. They need the cash to be able to move into that future. They also need the cash to be able to pay for the incentives that it's going to take to move the excess inventory that their dealerships are burdened with. And they're probably sitting there going, well, the vehicles that the public demands, they don't provide us with the profit margins that we need in order to be able to do that. How should we do this? And maybe, just maybe, they could figure out how to make it up in volume. Maybe if they're selling an extra 100,000 units, that instead of making $4,000 profit per unit or 40,000, they're only making 35,000, but they're selling 100,000 more. They're going to take in more money.
Yeah.
Somebody somewhere, some of these allegedly smarter people than us somewhere need to say, it's time to go back to basics. It's time to go back to what the people can afford if we'd like to continue as an ongoing operation.
Hate to break it to you, but the more expensive you make the vehicle, the more expensive the auto insurance is going to be too. So you know what? It ties right back into that. No wonder we've seen. So Anyway, today's show, again, folks, brought to you by us, CarEdge.com. My dad and I founded CarEdge 4.5 years ago. If you're interested in the origin story, go under About here. You can read about our mission. You can read about our story. You can meet our team, read reviews. You can even learn how we work with car dealers. Yes, we do work with car dealers. And we make $0.00 when we work with dealers. Every dollar of revenue comes from our customers, which are you. But you can read about all that and more back on CarEdge.com. Dad, I want to go to the chat here before we go to our favorite segment of the show. From Igor, Zach, over 100 F-150 trucks are here at the dealer auction, and 50% of them are repos being sold directly from Ford Motor Credit. Wow. Those are repos from the dealer, folks. Thank you, Igor, for the information on the ground. From Matthew Hoskin. Thank you, Matthew. Nobody wants to buy $50,000 Grand Wagoneers. They're not necessarily the prettiest. Yeah, so at $100,000, hard to sell them. As well, from Baron of Gray Matter. Thank you, Baron. Great to see you here. Germany has had 10-year car loans for decades at 2 to 3% in the 70s and 80s. Most folks save cash to buy cars. Dealer kept no inventory and you ordered the car. Would be a way more efficient model, but that's not how it's set up here in the United States. And then from Matthew earlier in the show, $6,400 a year in auto insurance. Pops Land Rover, BMW M4, Jaguar, an old Jaguar, a boat, a ski condo?
Yeah, people have ski condos. Lake Tahoe is a beautiful place in order to have a ski condo.
Proof I don't have a ski condo. That just demonstrated.
Okay, well, let me ask you the most important question of the day then. When was the last time you skied?
Went skiing one time, ran into some people, haven't been back since. You ready for our favorite segment?
Anybody you knew?
No.
Okay. Really? You gotta be kidding me. So you just ran into strange people?
State Farm today. This is internal communications to a State Farm customer who shared it directly with me. State Farm today has increased their eligibility restrictions on the Hyundai and Kia vehicles. Previously, State Farm and other auto insurers had only been restricting underwriting from 2015 to 2019 Hyundai and Kia vehicles that did not have passive engine immobilizers. However, Dad, you can read it. I can read it too. Effective July 29th, that's today, underwriting is expanding the model years subject to eligibility restrictions to 2011 through 2022 Hyundai and Kia vehicles that do not have the passive engine immobilizer. Dad, this is a huge story. The range of vehicles from Hyundai and Kia that you can no longer get auto insurance from State Farm through has just more than doubled as a result of them still being susceptible to theft and having no clear way to make sure that those vehicles are not stolen. And this comes after Hyundai and Kia settled for $200 million admitting no wrongdoing. Bonkers.
Yeah, may I say, the unfortunate reality here is that these are the least expensive of the Hyundais and the Kias, the ones that appeal to those who can afford the least. And those people who can afford the least certainly cannot really afford to be without automobile insurance on the vehicles that they can afford to buy. So it's damning on Hyundai Kia's part. It's unfortunate for the folks that have to rely on Hyundais and Kias of the least expensive kind. And what it means is if the Kia or Hyundai has a push button start, you can get that insured. If it's not push button and you have to actually use the key in the ignition, which is how it works in the least expensive entry models, in many cases,
in more cases now, Dad. That's what
in more cases,
used to be 2015 to 2019. We're talking 2011 to 2022. It went from 4 model years to 11 model years.
And yeah, State Farm won't underwrite it for you. So, which cuts the competition for automobile insurance, which means the companies that would consider writing it an insurance policy, they're going to charge much higher rates because they have greater risk. This is just another example of where corporations can really take advantage of American consumers because they don't care to build the very best.
Well, also it demonstrates that Hyundai and Kia's response to the situation. They settled, but
Yes.
now the issue becomes even more widespread potentially. Let's come here back to the chat from Matthew, illuminating thoughts about ski condos. Ski condo in Mammoth, better than Tahoe. Suit on. Love
Well,
that.
yeah, but I'm not, Matthew. I'm not a skier. And one of my favorite places on earth, at least in the summer, is Lake Tahoe. And I don't go there to ski. I go there because, well, it's just beautiful in the summer. So I don't really know my ski areas. So I do
Never too late
apologize
to
for that.
start, Pops. Never too late to start.
Okay. How about Squaw Valley?
How about it, Dad? How about it? Folks, if we can help you with anything, I just want to acknowledge the juxtaposition of today's show. If you don't need to buy a car, continue to be on the sidelines. Seems like maybe light at the end of the tunnel. If you're in negative equity situation, the best financial decision you can make is to keep paying the doggone thing down. There are some strategies for how to get out of negative equity. My dad was talking about leasing earlier. If we can help you with any of this, please use our services, use our free tools, use our resources. Do not feel any pressure from us that you need to go buy a car or lease a car or do anything right now. Don't feel any pressure from us. Simply resources, simply information and knowledge that should hopefully empower you to make a smart decision. So just want to acknowledge, this is our business. This is how we help people. And the affordability crisis is real. The negative equity crisis is real. Don't feel pressure from us on YouTube to make a brash decision. Make an empowered decision, whatever you do.
Exactly. And most of the stuff that's available on the website is 100% absolutely free.
Yeah.
And there's that old saying that if it is for free, it is for me. Just take advantage of that. If it's for free, it's for you. Take advantage of it.
All right. No more ski talk after this. Matthew, thank you for the kind contribution. Table is 100 better in summer. Was just there. Worry summer. Square Valley is now Palisades. Name was offensive. All right. This is over my head. Dad, we will be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific time zone. We are going to be back 12 p.m. on the Eastern time zone. We'll have something to talk about. Really, really appreciate your time as always.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure chatting with you today. Have a safe train ride to New York tomorrow. And looking forward to doing the show with you tomorrow from, well, a city so nice they named it twice. New York, New York, ladies and gentlemen.
See you guys tomorrow. Love you, Dad.
Love you too, handsome.